Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor, bringing you another video on how to raise your vibration so you can live your best life. Welcome to Monday Magic, the intuitive energy reading. This is one of my favorite days of the week. I absolutely love tapping into the current energies to give you a sense of how I'm experiencing it. Oftentimes, when we hear someone else sort of echo back to us what we are experiencing, it helps to not feel alone. Now, of course, the energies can be experienced for different people in different waves, sometimes beforehand or afterhand. And it, of course, also depends on the energy that you are cultivating. So, again, don't shoot the messenger if this is not where you're at. It's more about really bringing together the community and reminding each other that we are all in this together. If it happens to resonate with what you are experiencing, then great. If not, check back on another video and we'll see where we catch up. All right, so interesting energies. I will preface the conversation with the fact that the moon is approaching, that's a new one. The moon is approaching Pluto. It will be conjunct Pluto tomorrow. Pluto can have sort of a heavy and dense feeling, and I certainly am getting a sense of that today. I have noticed, as far as patterns in my clients' lives, sort of an up and down, where we had some really amazing, awesome energy the last couple of weeks, really high highs. That of course we want to keep balanced and neutral so that we don't have too much of the down and the lows, which have to mimic the height of your highs. But there is sort of just a general sense of ebbing and flowing right now, that two steps forward, one step back does exist for a reason, because that is how we experience life, but keeping in mind that is still progress, that there are a lot of scenarios where we thought this was the thing and it looked like it was going to be awesome and amazing, and of course it still is part of the path, but it requires a balancing out, or a shifting or a sifting. I like to call it sifting for gold, that we were given this opportunity or potential clarity and insight into an opportunity, and then now we're being asked to sort of sift through that and find what is for us, pulling out the gold, right? So what in that situation was a yes for you, and what in that situation was a no, and how do we help the universe reshuffle the cards so that it can offer us an even better opportunity the next time around. So if you're feeling a bit of a sense of heaviness, notice too that, again, this is temporary. It will pass relatively quickly. I would say by Wednesday we should start to feel sort of a lift in the energy, but also notice how the tendency can be to focus on the negative, that there is false evidence of struggle here, that sometimes we can get a sense of, oh, things are crumbling or things are falling apart, but really they're just falling into place. And especially if we have had a habit of negative thinking, or always looking at the worst case scenario, or only focusing on the problems, not focusing on the benefits, then we're going to have that tendency and be prone to go to that place, when really there is just a sort of a somberness to the energy. That doesn't mean that anything is actually wrong, that you are still supported, you are still cared for, there are still beautiful things on the horizon for you, and this is just a balancing out. Again, two steps forward, one step back is still progress. So we need to focus on the progress that has been made and approach the future with curiosity, and just say, I wonder how this is going to serve me. I wonder how this is going to work out. Because, of course, we remember always, and in always, everything is in perfect divine order. Everything is always happening for us and not to us. And so focusing on the positives, focusing on the benefit, focusing on the cultivation of positive energy. It's really up to us to transmute and to remain, I don't want to say vigilant, but that kind of is appropriate. That we don't want to be hyper vigilant necessarily, but we want to be diligent in cultivating positive energy. And in these moments when there is a bit of a somber or heavier tone, that it is up to us to continue to transmute and to focus on the lights, and focus on bringing in and cultivating and generating more positive energy. There's also a sense of sort of resting. Last week and this week, we once we get the clarity of where things might go, we get some insight on the next steps that might need to happen. There's sort of a sense of now there's work to do, right? And that can be sort of that put your head down and get things done sort of feeling. There is also a sense of waiting that can come with that. And if we're taking action and we're following our divine guidance, then there's less of a feeling of waiting, but it is still a sort of a resting in waiting, a resting in, it's a manifestation from a place of rest, that we're taking the action that we're guided towards. We're not working super hard. We're not hurting ourselves or efforting or pushing or resisting in any way, but we're patient with the process. And I think that that's kind of the intention with the term resting and waiting, is just being patient in the process, continuing to be diligent, to show up, to do the work, to put one step in front of the other, to follow the guidance, and to do that from a place of patience, knowing that all is as it should be, and that things are still happening, that the good is still coming, and that when we approach it from that place of curiosity and just say, wow, I can't wait to see how this is going to play out. I'm really curious how this thing that I thought was super awesome and amazing, that seems to have pivoted a little bit but didn't really fall completely away, but it's only offered me insight on where I'm going and how this may shift and change going forward, that we can have appreciation for that process. Like I mentioned, Pluto is engaging with the moon today, but also Pluto is in retrograde and turning direct on the 8th. We have other planets also in retrograde. So I believe Mercury, either in retrograde or in shadow. I forget where we're at with that one. We've got Uranus in retrograde. We have Saturn in retrograde. So we've got a lot of different retrogrades happening. And so there's a lot of introspection that happens with those retrogrades, that we're meant to go in, revise, revisit, review all the rewords for the retrograde. And that can cause sort of a feeling of stagnation. And I say that very carefully because nothing is stagnant ever. There's a lot of internal work happening, but it's internal, it's not external. And so that can appear to some as a slowing down. That being said, those planets are all going direct very, very shortly, and we will also be in eclipse season. Well, you could kind of say we are now. It's coming up at the end of October, and I tend to feel this anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks before the eclipse. And the eclipse energy can be very fast paced, very intense. I always liken it to having my finger in a light socket. There's just a lot of energy. And especially when, Uranus and Saturn are squaring off, or at least, in close aspect to each other, it can create a lot of tension. Right? It makes me think of sexual tension, right? It's kind of a good tension, but it's kind of a little bit uncomfortable. And so we've got a lot of that going on. So there is no shortage of things moving direct, things starting to move forward, external manifestations. Eclipse energy certainly will speed things up. It is very fated events and sometimes seen as positive. I choose to see them as positive. I love those redirects to help keep us on the right track. If you are not following your guidance, or if you're avoiding your healing path, if you're avoiding your life purpose, it can feel like a crisis. It can feel like a push or a shove off the edge of the cliff to try to get you to move towards your purpose and your path. Now, I will say too that there is sort of similar to that resting and waiting, or having patience, or doing the internal work, not the external work at this current moment, although that's going to be shifting and changing very quickly in the next week or two. There is a general sense, and thank you to I think it was Teresa, but I'm not sure. Somebody who posted that a lot of times when we're experiencing the fatigue due to this energy, that it can be integration of new energy. So if it was not you, I apologize. Maybe I'll comment below and give credit where credit is due, but thank you for sharing that, because it definitely resonated and I felt the truth of that when I read it. That when we experience these really strong influxes of very positive energy, that there can be, again, that high requires a low to rebalance and to even keel the energy. Right? And especially when that high brings in a lot of new vibrations and new frequencies, new energies, especially new insight into the new path, that there is a rest that is necessary for integration. And I certainly have felt, and when I say this really resonated in my body, I can't articulate that quite strongly enough, that I knew that what had happened over the last couple of weeks had brought some really phenomenal insights, some very big clarity around the vision and where we're moving, both collectively and individually, but also that there was a longer integration period that was going to be necessary because of this new information. And I even full well knowing that going into last week, the slowdown isn't always fun. I mean, especially as an Aries sun, I like the momentum. I like to continue to shift and evolve. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but who really likes the slow and stagnant feeling energy? I'm not sure. Maybe some do. But the slowdown is necessary. The integration is necessary. And we're still sort of in that integration phase. I would say a little bit of last week, likely some of this week. We'll see where we go after that. Intuitively, I'm getting a sense that, after next week, we're going to see a bit of a pick up, but just take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Be willing to be diligent, do the work, put your head down, be patient, take the time to rest, manifest from a place of rest, which manifestation does not mean lackadaisical. Manifestation means creating, right? We are creators, and we create through following our divine guidance and taking action. Manifesting from a place of rest means doing that with ease, that there is not a masculine push. We're not driving more than we are energetically equipped to in that moment, that we're honoring our energetic levels and our physical needs, and we're taking the time to rest when necessary in between those moments of receiving the guidance and taking the action. And again, I will just reiterate that it is up to us to transmute the energy, that if we choose the perspective of frustration and focusing on stagnation, and I want things to go faster, and that vision didn't quite work out the way I thought it would, and now I'm going to be in resistance to that you are creating more frustration for yourself, creating more difficult energy for yourself and others, because we are all connected. But it is up to us to hold the frequency of that clarity, of that vision, of that insight that was provided for us, and to remain in a state of love and trust and surrender to the process. That we, again, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? And that can seem frustrating sometimes, but if we don't learn to enjoy the journey, we're going to continue to suffer and to struggle, because you will never get to that destination of satisfaction, because that's not the point. The point is cultivating a beautiful state in the current state, in the present moment. Right, so make sure that we're transmuting the energy and holding the frequency of knowing that I was given a vision, I was given clarity, I was given insight, and that has not somehow gone away because the high of the energy has dissipated a bit. That it is still there, it is still percolating. It was a seed that was planted, and it's not going anywhere unless you choose to quit, give up, and remain in disbelief and go back to your old habits. Okay. I think that's about it. Just love on each other, love on yourself, self-care, affirmations, journaling about your commitment to remaining in that high frequency and holding that high state, that high vibration, so that you can continue to cultivate and reap the rewards. We are in harvest season, and it may seem a little bit delayed, but it's really not that far off. Right? If we can just have a little bit of patience in the next week or two, we're going to start to see more evidence of outward progress, not just internal work. All right. I love you guys. I will see you on the next video. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you comment below. Let me know, does this resonate? What do you find helpful? How are you experiencing things? If there's something that I didn't mention, certainly contribute to the community by letting us know how you're experiencing it. Same with YouTube. We love your comments. Otherwise, if you are on YouTube, if you could just make sure to leave me a little emoji comment, it's super helpful for the YouTube algorithm. If you are also on YouTube, you can check this button or click this button to subscribe to get notified of the next video. Otherwise, this video is curated just for you. All right, take care, my friends, and I will see you on the next video. Namaste.